Hit record, everyone.
This meeting is being recorded.
So we are being recorded. So welcome, everyone. This meetup we started, I don't know, Ron and everyone about 4 years ago or something, or 5. I lost track of time during COVID. And our purpose is, really concentrating and focusing on Agile stuff, for enterprise, large companies. Because we think large companies and organizations, especially ones that have been around for many years, carry a lot of baggage. It's harder to do an agile transformation, that's our opinion, than smaller companies or mid-sized companies. Not to say that they don't have challenges, similar challenges. So we generally focus on those and try to bring wonderful people to our community to share their knowledge and experience. So we have these once a month, sometimes twice a month. We'll have people come and talk. We'll have workshops, and we're going to continue doing that. So thank you all for joining. Wonderful that you took the time to do that. I think you're in for a good time, and you're going to learn a lot. So now I would like to introduce one of our leaders of the community, Ron Lichty, and he will introduce our special guest.
So Richard Kasparowski and I met each other at Agile Camp 3 years ago when both of us were speakers. He was speaking on hierarchy, power games, and high performance team culture. And as we were chatting at the end of Agile Camp, I learned that he was on his way from Agile Camp Chicago to Philadelphia to give workshops on test-driven development and mob programming. And I thought, that's a good span of thought leadership. Richard is the author of 2 books, High Performance Teams, The Foundations and the Core Protocols, A Guide to Greatness. And I'll put the Amazon links to those into the chat in a moment. He teaches this stuff at Harvard and at Boston University, in addition to corporations around the world. He came to Agile from having had a focus on high performance teams as an engineering leader. And I want to point to Piyush for having said, hey, I just heard Richard speak, we should get him to speak. And I said, oh, yeah. So thanks, Pi. So Richard, it's all yours.
All right, hello. Hi, everybody. Let's see, and we've got Zoom controls. I'm gonna mute everybody just to help the room sound good, the digital room. And let's see, I guess I'll just start by sharing my screen. It's an easy way to start. So welcome everybody. Tonight we're going to do something about high performance teams. We're going to learn about high performance teams and some stuff called the core protocols. Its relationship to psychological safety and emotional intelligence. That's psych safety and EI for short. You got the intro to me already, so you know this. Oh, you've got all my contact info here too. And that's because you are invited to get in touch with me. You can call me, email me, get me on social networks, text message me anytime. You could text message me right now, and I'd probably get the message, but I'm busy right now, so I won't respond. But maybe later. And I've got a big pile of stuff here, and it's kind of falling over. So we're going to do some digital interactions, obviously. This is all digital here. Some of these interactions are going to use Menti. So I'd love it if you joined us there. One way to join us there is to maybe your web browser came with a camera. This is the back of my web browser. You see the camera there? The back of my web browser, if I aim it at that QR code, actually if I aim the Photos app, the camera app at that QR code, it will launch my web browser to Menti with that shortcode. Or you could type in menti.com in your web browser's address bar and then type in that code 25641864. When you get there, follow that example. Tap or click one of those icons to let us know you're there. So let's see. The first icon is a heart. The second icon is a thumbs up. The third icon, what is that?
Crazy cat.
Maybe it's a cat. Okay, so this is about teams. This group is about large-scale organizations. Large-scale organizations are maybe too big to call a team, but they're definitely a, if they're doing really well, they're composed of many teams, and maybe they're composed of teams of teams. So you all know what a team is. You've been on teams before. What's the best team you were ever on in your entire life? There's a lot of activities that we're going to do tonight. This activity, this is actually an activity asking you this question. This is a solo, quiet thinking activity. I want you to think about the best team you've ever been on in your entire life. And we could start by defining the word team as any group of two people, any group of two or more people aligned with shared goals. We could say that's a team. Any group of two or more people aligned with shared goals. So as you think about this best team of your life, it could be a work team. We've been talking about work teams as we got started. It could be the work team around right now or a previous work team. Or it could be a team that has nothing to do with work, a fun team. Maybe your work is fun. Maybe you do things for fun outside of work. You know, I used to play music with friends. Those were teams. We were groups of two or more people aligned with common goals. Somebody once told me that their Saturday morning fishing group was the best team of their life, that everybody knew what to do. They would get up ridiculously early. Each person knew their role. They would get the gear that they were responsible for. They would get out in the boat and go out in the water and do the thing. Sometimes I watch my wife Molly knitting with friends. And they're a team when they're doing that. They're doing something that they couldn't do without each other. They're more creative together. They're sharing skills and ideas with each other. They're a really good team at that moment. And my wife Molly and me, we're a really good team, probably the best team of my life. We're a group of two or more people with shared goals. There are things about our lives that are better because of each other. We're more creative together. We've got this shared pursuit of passion and love and living well and enjoying life. What's the best team of your life? The best team you were ever on in your life? And I want you to take yourself back to that team and try to re-experience it. Most of y'all have your cameras off, so there's no harm in doing a little bit of closed eye meditation if that helps you take yourself back to that team. Even if the camera's on, try it. It would look like this. I'll model it. Take yourself back to that best team of your life right now. I think it really does help to close your eyes. Helps me. Who are the people on that best team of your life? In your mind's eye, I don't know. Imagine that you're standing or sitting together in a circle maybe, and you can see every individual's face. Look at each face of each person who's part of that best team of your life. What do they look like? Look at them so deeply that you can see the color of their eyes, each individual person. And bring your other senses into this. What does it feel like to be in that space, wherever you are with that best team? Is the air moving? Can you feel that on your skin or in your hair, across your nose? Is it warm? Is it cool? Is there an air conditioner running? Is there a breeze? What does it sound like? Are there people talking? Are there the sounds of nature? Is there music? Is there the rumble of that air conditioner? Or the sound of the wind going through the trees? Is there a scent? What does it smell like? Can you smell some food maybe? Maybe the smell of some sweat or something like that? And now start doing the activity, whatever it is that you did with that best team of your life, mentally go back to doing whatever you did together. Writing code, fishing, knitting, whatever it was. And notice how it feels within you as you take yourself back to the activity that you were doing with that best team of your whole life. What does it feel like? Notice how that feels within your body right now. How do you feel as you take yourself back to your best team ever? And if you could summarize the sensation of that best team of your life in one word, what's that one word? What one word would you use to describe the sensation of the best team of your life? If your eyes are closed, you could open them now. And I want to collect these words in Menti. So go back to your web browser right now and share that word that describes the best team you've ever been on in your entire life. So many good words here, including me be me, and equal and aligned, and warmth and fun and exploration, synergy, liberating, energized together. Yeah, this is the subjective sense of that best team of your life. Most of us know what it feels like. I mean, just the way I asked the question. Everybody's had a best team. So we all know what it's like. And we've all had this kind of experience. Oh, and this is sort of like a histogram. So if multiple people typed in the same word, like happy, it's a little bigger than the others. So happy is a great word for what it feels like to be on our best team ever. We've all had this kind of experience, and this is the subjective sense of best team of our lives. I've had these experiences. You have too. When I look back at some of my best teams, I've got some teams in mind, some work teams in mind, some non-work teams in mind. Mostly we just got lucky. It was just the right group of people at the right time, doing the right stuff together. We didn't really know how to do this, get into this team building stuff. We didn't know anything about psychological safety or emotional intelligence. We just got lucky. And I've been on some pretty mediocre or even bad teams too. And every time I've been on one of those, or every time I've started with a new team, I wanted it to be the best team of my life again. And I wanted to be able to do that again on purpose. So this is what I've been thinking about for the last 10 or 15 years. How to get that best team of your life again on purpose. How to do it consistently. How to do it with the team you're on now. How to do it with your next team and your team after that. How to do this intentionally and reliably and repeatably. So we're going to take a look at some ideas for this tonight. We're going to take a look at some science and research on teams. We're going to practice a lot of this. We're going to have a lot of fun activities. And we'll get started with that science and research. So an easy way to tell this story about the science and research on teams is through the work Google did. They shared this with us about 6 years ago in the New York Times Sunday magazine. There's about, 50 or 60 years worth of research on teams and what makes the best teams the best teams. This is in business schools and psychology departments at universities and in industry. And there are hundreds of individual characteristics, hundreds of characteristics and attributes of teams that, depending on the research and the team doing the research, they decided that was the one most important thing to repeatably have the best team ever. Right, so there's actually something like 250 of these, the one thing you need to have the best team of your life. And that's way too many for us to do anything about. We can't improve 250 different areas. It's just overwhelming. So at Google, they got a group of researchers together and they reproduced the research that's in the literature. They got about 100, 200 teams to voluntarily participate in reproducing the research. They measured the teams on their actual performance. They measured the teams on many, many of these different characteristics that are published in literature. They were mostly tech teams producing products, and there were some non-technical teams like sales teams. And what they found in the research at Google as they were reproducing the research in the literature was that the one thing that mattered most, the one thing that correlated most highly to high-performing teams at Google was that they measured high-end psychological safety. Psych safety is this idea that you feel like it's safe to take risks when you're with your teammates, that you can try out new things. You can do something, you can attempt to do something that you've never done before, and you won't be blamed for it if it doesn't go right, because you've never done it before. So it's safe to take risks. It's safe to try out a new role in a team. It's safe to learn a new tool or learn a new technology. It's safe to make a hypothesis for what you're going to get done this sprint or however you do your work and be wrong by the end of the time period. That it's safe to show up as who you are, right? And there's some consequences of this. And obviously, one of the consequences is teams like this perform better. Teams in which the members feel psychologically safe. They're more creative. People have more voice. They're more likely to share their ideas with each other. They're more likely to try out new roles. They're less likely to leave the team or less likely to leave the company. The executives, the leaders in the company, they can point out the teams that are performing better, and they happen to be the teams on which the people feel psychologically safe. The executives might not even know what psych safety is, but they know which teams are psychologically safe as far as the measurements go. And it is something that gets measured. There are instruments for measuring psych safety. You have to figure out how to measure team performance based on what your team is doing. And the correlation here is that teams that measure high-end psych safety, they typically measure high-end performance, right? So you can measure these things. And this is what researchers love to do. This is what scientists love to do. They measure things. They look for correlations. And as Google was reproducing the research, the highest correlation was between psych safety and team performance, higher than the correlation between anything else in team performance. And that's kind of where the research stops. And that's kind of where Google's research stopped as well. That if you measure high-end psych safety, you measure high-end performance. And it's a little frustrating that there's no instructions for how to get that psych safety. There's no instructions that tell you how to do it. So it's just like, do more psychological safety is the advice. And we don't really know how to do that. So let's see. Oh, and this stuff about psychological safety, this cuts across all different fields of work, all different industries, all different cultures. I was telling a new dentist this story about what I do for work, and she got really excited about it because it was in her dental office magazine that month. And she ran back and pulled out the print edition and brought it back to the exam room and showed it to me. All right, so this was actually discovered and popularized with Amy Edmondson's research on healthcare teams, and that on healthcare teams where the members of the team feel safe together, they outperform other healthcare teams. It works in technology product development, high-tech product development. It works in every field that there is. So I shared that story with Steve Wolf. Steve and his research partner, Vanessa Drucker, they've done a lot of work on teams and team performance. I'm in Boston. Steve Wolf happens to be in Boston. Vanessa is nearby, New Hampshire. Steve hadn't heard the Google story, and he thought it was interesting, but he knew a lot about psych safety and team performance, and he taught me a lot more. So from his research with Vanessa Drucker, what they found was that psychological safety was definitely correlating to high performance in teams, but there was more to it than that. That there was that psychological safety was one component of a broader thing that they called team emotional intelligence. Team emotional intelligence, sort of like individual emotional intelligence, but scaled up to the group. So as a group, we understand how we're feeling, how things operate within our group. We understand how to influence the behavior group and govern our behavior, guide our actions appropriately so that we accomplish our goals together. And external to the group, we understand how the system works around us. We understand, maybe we can infer how other people are feeling and why they're behaving particular ways, and we can influence them to do the things that we need them to do for our team so our team is successful, and that we all achieve our mutual goals together across the team of teams. It also measures the measurement instrument in their research. They noticed that there was something called social capital, that people build social capital in groups that have high emotional intelligence. This is sort of like investing in relationships with people outside of your team, with the hope of getting something in return for that investment, sort of like with interest later on. You get an even bigger payback. And so there's more trust. You trust people on other teams, they trust you, and they help you accomplish your goals. Well, you help them accomplish their goals. You're all accomplishing your goals together. There's more executive support. It's another aspect of team emotional intelligence. And then it becomes sort of obvious why teams that measure high on emotional intelligence outperform other teams. They have executive support, which means the executives are aligned with the goals of the team. The executives are removing all of the team's obstacles, giving them all the resources they need, and of course they're going to succeed if that's the context. And like the Google story with psychological safety, this is kind of where the research ends. The research is about measuring this and measuring that, and noticing there's a correlation, and that the correlation is really strong, but not about giving people advice on how to do it. Right, so the advice is kind of like, do more emotional intelligence with your team, do more psych safety with your team, but there's not really a recipe for it. Here's the third body of work to share. Now, this is a body of work called the Core Protocols. This is the work of Jim McCarthy and Michele McCarthy. They live around the Seattle area, and they had an experience of having a really great team. They were working at Microsoft, and they had a team that was measurably outperforming other teams, even in other companies. They built some really great products, and at least one competing company couldn't even stay in business. The product that their team built was so good, right? So our team still exists, their team doesn't exist, their team ceased to exist. That's a pretty objective measure of whether your team is better than others. And of course, this product was successful from a business perspective, and they invented new technologies within their product. It was a really great product and a really great team. They experienced all of those subjective sensations that we collected a few moments ago. It was the best team of their life. And they wanted to know if they could do that again on purpose. They thought about staying at Microsoft and seeing if they could do this again with teams at Microsoft, but they were afraid that it would take too long to learn how to do this again on purpose, how to have a great team again on purpose. So they left Microsoft and they started up their own team research lab. In their lab, they would invite a group of people in to act as a team. They would give them an assignment and a deadline, 5 days. And they would just watch. It was observational research. They would just watch what people did as they moved toward a goal together. Now, many of these teams in their lab were successful. Oh, and as they were watching, they were taking notes, noticing what the behaviors were in these teams that were successful. And they noticed that there were a lot of behaviors that they shared, a lot of common behaviors. They kind of factored out these common behaviors and documented them in a way that they hoped other people would be able to learn and reproduce these behaviors. They called these behaviors protocols. One way that humans reproduce other humans' behaviors is to document them and practice them as what we call protocols. So, for example, there are healthcare protocols, and we're all aware of various healthcare protocols from the last couple of years. And we're all used to wearing a mask when you go into a healthcare facility now. Like everybody wears a mask when you go into a healthcare facility. Surgeons have been doing this for decades, right? It's the protocol for how surgery happens. People wash their hands, they put on sterile garments, they They mask their faces and noses. They use sterilized equipment. They talk to each other in a very particular and regimented way. The purpose of a protocol is to make sure that we communicate clearly with each other, that there are no misunderstandings, and that we accomplish our mutual goals together. So we've got healthcare protocols, we've got diplomatic protocols, we've got the protocol that airline pilots follow before they take off. There are protocols all around us that people use to make sure that we accomplish our goals with no misunderstandings. The McCarthys documented the behaviors of the high-performing teams that they observed in their lab as protocols so that other teams could learn them and replicate them. And then they tested this out. They invited more teams into their lab. They gave them the same assignment and the same deadline, 5 days, and they gave them these protocols for successful teams. And every time they did that, the teams in the lab were indeed successful. They had great creative solutions. They did it on time. And every time they did it outside of the lab with real teams in industry, those teams were also successful. And even other people sharing these protocols with real teams in industry, those teams were successful. Right? So it's not just that the McCarthys have some sort of magic or charisma about them that inspires teams. It's that these are the behaviors that go into, and talking with Steve Wolf, turns out that every one of these behaviors is related to something that gets measured in team emotional intelligence and psychological safety. The McCarthys didn't know this. They just noticed that if you do these things, you have a successful team. Steve and I have been tying this back into the research. We noticed that every one of these documented behaviors correlates to something that builds more trust, more safety. There's a protocol for decision-making and resolving conflict. These are all characteristics of things that are measured on high-performing teams in the team emotional intelligence research, which includes psychological safety. So the McCarthys were onto something here, and I've learned it. I've been sharing it with people. It works. So here's a way of looking at this a little bit different. If you want a high-performing team, and you probably do, that might be why you're here tonight with us, you definitely want psychological safety. The research is really, really solid. And that is a subset of team emotional intelligence. So you definitely want Team EI. The research is really solid. Now, the research just tells you if you measure this, you get that. It doesn't tell you how to do it. So we need a way to know how to do it. The core protocols is one way to do it, one way to build Team EI and psych safety and get a high-performing team. There are undoubtedly other ways to do it. This is a way that definitely works. So we're gonna take a look at it. We're gonna practice some of this now. Practical skills. I arranged this as a set of building blocks. You can see this on the right. The first building block is positive bias. Right, so high-performing teams, they start with this foundation of positive bias. That means approximately we're not negative on purpose. We sort of orient ourselves toward positive outcomes, obtaining what we want together, accomplishing our goals. No negation. We don't automatically say no to each other. Here's an idea. No, that's a bad idea. We tried that 7 years ago and it didn't work. We can't try it now. We don't do that. We're orienting toward positive bias. Hey, here's an idea. Yeah, maybe I'll try that out. Let's think about that for a little while. Pretend that it might be a good idea and that we could at least run a mental experiment on it. Maybe even do a real experiment to see if that idea would work. These are some of the aspects of positive bias. And we're going to do a little activity now in groups of 2 to try to see what it feels like to experience some positive bias. So here's our activity. The activity is to, with a partner, make a plan for lunch tomorrow. Now, that might be easy, that might be hard. To make it interesting, it's going to go like this. We're going to say yes, but to each other. So every time your partner gives you an idea, you're going to respond to your partner starting with the words, yes, but. So here's an example. It'll be like, hey, partner, want to get lunch tomorrow? And your partner will say, yes, but we're in different cities. That's really not possible. And you're going to say, yes, but there's this amazing invention called Zoom. And I don't know if you've heard of it, but maybe we could sort of be together, see each other, and talk to each other while we're eating lunch. And be like, yes, but we're in different time zones. We can't eat lunch at the same time because I'm in Boston and you're on the West Coast. Yes, but it's okay. I'll eat my lunch early just so we can spend some time together. Yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. Whatever your partner says, respond, starting with the words yes, but. Your goal, however, is to really try to make a plan for lunch tomorrow. So I'm going to put us in groups of approximately 2. There might be a group of 3. I'm going to do my best. Sometimes people drop off. I'm going to do my best to make sure that we really have groups of people. And I'm going to give you 60 seconds to try to make a plan for lunch with each other tomorrow, always responding to each other, starting with the words yes, but. Are there any questions about the activity?
Yeah, this is Jervis or Jay. Don't put me in a group because I'm still working. I've got something I got to do for work. So apologize.
All right, Jay. I'm gonna put everybody in a group because Zoom is gonna put us in random groups. Jay, I don't know if you have special permission, co-host or something permission. You can move yourself out of the group if you need to. No problem, and I'll manage it from there.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you though very much.
So here we go. Let's try it out. Make a plan for lunch tomorrow with your partner. Yes, butting each other. 60 seconds starts now. Go. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is an Agile group. We like to do things in iterations. So we're going to do a second iteration of this. The second iteration is going to be just like the first. Try to make a concrete plan for lunch tomorrow, but this time we're going to say yes and to each other. So, for example, hey partner, want to have lunch tomorrow? And partner would say yes, and even though we're in different cities, we could use Zoom. I don't know if you've heard of it. We could try it out. And you might respond, yes, and even though we're in different time zones, I could adjust what time I eat lunch so that we could do that together and be like, yes, and some other idea. And yes, and some other idea. Yes, and some other idea. So just like the first time, except saying yes and to each other. For the next 60 seconds, try to make a concrete plan for lunch together. Yes, anding each other. Any questions? All right, here we go, 60 seconds. Hi, Tinu, welcome. We're just doing a little activity. You missed the first iteration of it, so we'll just keep you here, and you can hear the, as we debrief, you can get a chance to hear what happened and how it went for people.
Yes, and I'll be glad to hear what the results
all
are.
right.
Thank you.
Sure. And hi, Patty. I hope I pronounced that right. Welcome.
Hello.
We're doing an activity right now for about 30 more seconds. People will be coming back, and we'll debrief on it together, so you'll get a chance to hear what happened.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's debrief. Let's talk about how that went. So the first version of the activity, the yes, but, what was that experience like for you? You could unmute and share with your voice. You could type into chat, whatever you want to do. How did that go for you? The yes, but.
I think it makes it open. When you say yes, but, it kind of closes the conversation. When you say yes, and, you are opening a conversation.
All right, so yes, but was kind of like it felt closed. Yes, and was more open. Did anybody else have an experience that was similar to that or different from that?
Yeah, so yes and seems like it's building up, whereas yes but seems like it's tearing down.
Yeah, okay. Yes, and is kind of like building up on each other's ideas. Yes, but is tearing down. Anything else anybody noticed? Yeah.
We got to lunch with and
Okay.
not with but.
All right. Mission accomplished with yes and, but not with yes but. Yes and is cooperative, we see in chat. Yeah, all these things. Yes, but is frustrating. There's a totally different feeling. Yeah, so this is an activity that comes from improvisational acting. Improv actors do this. And it turns out improv actors are masters of building psychological safety within their group. Like, improv acting couldn't happen if people didn't feel safe together on the stage. So this is a warm-up exercise that they use to learn how to build trust. The first rule of improv acting is to say yes, to support each other, to build on each other's ideas. And one of the ideas is that if you make your teammates look great in an improv acting group, well, then the team looks great, and you're part of the team, so you look great too. The same thing goes for any other kind of team that we're on. If we imagine that our job is to support each other, to simply yes and each other's ideas, whatever you're proposing, I add on to it rather than blocking it or tearing it down. We're going to be a better team together. And this is something just to try out the next time you're with a group of people you care about. Notice the words you use. Notice if you're saying but. And try to convert that but into an and see what happens. It's almost like yes, but is a secret code word for no. But we're disguising it with the word yes in front. Yes and is a real yes. Try it out with a group of people you care about, maybe a team that you care about, and see how it goes. We're going to add on to this with the second building block, which is freedom. Now, it turns out if you watch the best of the best teams, we're talking about the best of the best teams, not average teams, above average teams, that the people in the teams have freedom. They get to choose what team they're on. They get to choose what work they do. They get to choose how the work gets done. That's freedom. We've got a couple of behaviors here now. So real protocols, the pass protocol and the checkout protocol are encoded instructions for how to have freedom on your team. And I'm not saying you have to do these exactly as they're written, but the idea here is that one way to have freedom on a team is to have an agreement that we can opt out of anything, we can pass on anything. If there's something that doesn't feel right at the moment, or you don't feel right at the moment, or something you're not prepared for, or something you don't want to do, you don't have to do it. You can pass. You do it just by saying, I pass. And you can do this for the rest of our session tonight. If there's any activity that you don't want to do, you can just pass. It's totally okay. And you can unpass if you choose to do it. If you got yourself prepared or if something happened. Oh, it's my wife texting me. Has this ever happened to you? You like started doing something and you got distracted? You know, maybe you should be checking out if you have to do something else, but you're with a team, a group of people you care about. There's not really anything happening there. I'm just using it as a prop. Check out is this idea that it's sort of like pass, but even stronger. It's related to a commitment that when we're together as a team, the team is the most important thing. That we're going to be totally focused on the team. We're not going to be distracted. If you observe the best of the best teams, the above average teams, this is what they look like. They're focused on each other. They're not distracted by other things. They're not 90% present or 50% present. They're 100% present. They're not doing anything else. And if they have to do something else, they excuse themselves and go do it. So they're not distracting themselves or the team with the other activities, like that text message from my wife. Just go handle it, or that important email or phone call from an important customer, or production went down and I have to go fix it right now. Well, go fix it. Don't do this other activity that we had planned. Go do that and come back when you're available to be with us again. Let's check out. You do it just by saying, I'm checking out. You could explain why. You could explain when you're coming back, and you leave. Now, some examples of this. Pass, maybe you're doing a daily stand-up, a daily scrum, and it's your turn, but you're not quite ready. So you can just say, I pass, and the next person takes their turn. Or you might be mob programming or something, or pair programming, and it's your turn to be typing at the keyboard, but you're not quite ready. So you just say, I pass. And the next person takes their turn. It's not a big deal. You can unpass and take your turn again later. And check out is like that example of there's something more important to do. Or I just don't feel right now being with the group. So I have to excuse myself and go do something else. So you go do it. And you come back when you're ready. And Raghu has a digital hand up. Hey, Raghu.
Hey, Richard, quick question. Did you say something about choosing the team that you are in was one of the first freedom items?
That's like high level freedom. You get to choose what team you're on.
How often have you seen that? I mean, I'm struggling to create that environment, and I'm just trying to see how you have done it.
Yeah, so I have done this, and in fact, in large organizations, one or two of the largest organizations that there are in tech industry, I have a loose recipe for it. The loose recipe is, you know approximately how many teams you need. So you can imagine how to do this in physical space or using physical space like tools in digital space like Miro or something, maybe even a spreadsheet or a Google Doc. Say we need 5 teams. We got five teams or 5 posters on a wall, five rows or something, 5 columns in a spreadsheet. Everybody's name has to go somewhere. So maybe we know what roles we need on teams. Like we'll just say every team needs a scrum master, every team needs a product owner, every team needs a couple of this kind of developer, that kind of code writer, that kind of tester, that kind of documentation person, whatever the roles are that people need to play. As a group, people put their names in the right places. They talk to each other while they do this, and we remind them that we're looking for the right kind of diversity in the teams. If nothing else, diversity in skill level. Like we don't want one team that's all the super skilled veteran people and one team that's all the complete newbies. We want, say 5 teams in this example, 5 teams that can succeed. And people get to choose which teams they're on. So there's an example of how to do it and sort of inspire them with this idea of what the mission is for the whole group, different diversity dimensions that we'd be looking for on these teams, trusting them to do it well. Another idea that you could do with this is an idea called a marketplace of skills, where people share with everybody else what they're skilled at and what they'd like to learn. and maybe they'll team with each other based on what we know people are skilled at and what they could learn from the other people in the group. When I've done this with real teams, it really works. And what's great about it is if you let the team members pick their teams, they can't complain that management put them on the wrong team. They can't. It was their choice. It was their decision. They are totally in to the teams that they created for themselves. Have I seen groups self-select where it didn't work? Not so much. Given the right facilitation, right, to make sure that they're set up to do it well. That was a question that was in chat. I'm going to move on from here. Thanks for the question, Rigo. The third building block here is self-awareness. So again, if you watch the above average teams, you'll notice that the people on the teams have high self-awareness. They know about themselves individually. They know who they are. They know what they want, so they can put themselves on the right teams. They know what's important to them. They know how they feel. They've got some emotional capacity or the ability to grow it. And some protocols for this reproducible behaviors are check-in. It's an emotion check-in. Ask for help. If you watch above average teams, you'll notice the people on the teams asking each other for help. And personal alignment, it's a way to get a deep understanding of what it is that you really want. We're going to take a look at a couple of these right now. So here is the beginning of a solo, quiet thinking activity. How do you feel right now? Fill in the blank on that sentence. Fill in the blank with any word or words that help explain how you are feeling right now. And I'll pause and let you do that. Now, second iteration of this activity. This time it's multiple choice. Fill in the blank with one or more of those four words. Glad, sad, mad, or afraid. I feel blank. How do you feel right now? Which one of those words most closely matches how you're feeling? And maybe add on a little more information. Glad, sad, mad, or afraid. What else is going on within you that led you to pick that word as the word to put in the blank? I feel glad, sad, mad, or afraid. What else is there about the way you're feeling right now that you could add on as information? All right, let's see what people said. I feel blank. Which word did you pick? So to participate in this, aim your web browser at menti.com. And when you get there, type that 8-digit code, 2564 1864, and share your answer with us. How do you feel right now? Glad, sad, mad, or afraid? I usually wait until there's at least one vote. Oh, there we go. You did it. You knew what I was going to say. Now I believe it. We are a group of full humans. We are experiencing, as a group, all of the four primary emotions that there are. There's a bunch of people who are glad or happy. There's a couple who are sad. There's at least one person who's mad or angry. There's a couple people who are afraid or scared. This is a fully human group. This is great. This is one way to build up a little bit of emotional intelligence. This is a totally anonymous way to build up some emotional intelligence. We know how we're feeling as a group right now, and we can maybe adjust what we're doing to make sure that everybody feels safe together. Now, here's something else that we notice on the best of the best teams, that people have a way to share with each other how they're feeling, right? So there's an anonymous way. Here's a less anonymous way. This is an emotion check-in recipe. In this recipe, when you feel like sharing how you're feeling, you're very clear about it, so there's no misunderstandings. You say out loud to somebody or the people on your team, I feel blank. And you fill in the blank with glad, sad, mad, or afraid. And you could optionally add on some more information. You could not do this. You could pass. We have freedom. The way this team agreement works is at the end you say, I'm in, and it lets people know that you're done, and they say welcome back to you. So here's an example of an emotion check-in. I'll do it right now. I feel glad. It's really nice to be here. I love connecting with new folks and old friends, making new friends, reconnecting with old friends, connecting with people in different parts of the country, different parts of the world. This is awesome. Sad. Sometimes I just go through the list. Glad, sad, mad, afraid. I'm not feeling sad about anything right now. Or maybe I am sad and mad about, sad, mad, afraid about this Russia-Ukraine stuff that's happening in the world. Mad about anything else? Afraid about anything else? Oh, good. I'm glad I reset my thermostat and it's warm down here in the basement in my cold corner of the house in Boston. So I'm glad there. That's it. I've done a bunch of number 1 and 2. You can repeat these as many times as you want. Going on to step 4. I'm in. And then when I say I'm in, your response is to say welcome. Right? So you could do this. You could unmute and say welcome. You could type welcome into chat. It lets me know that you heard me. Go ahead and practice it right now. Somebody say
Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you. There we go. And a couple welcomes in chat. Okay. We're going to put you in small groups. Take a screenshot of this. If you know some fancy screenshot keys, press your fancy screenshot keys. Here's another way to take a screenshot. Do that or quickly scribble this down on a piece of paper. The steps for the emotion check-in. I'm going to put you in groups of 2 to 3. Give you 2 minutes to check in with each other. Share with each other how you're feeling. One person do it, the other says welcome, and then switch roles. The other person does it, and the first person says welcome. Are there any questions about what we're about to do? Okay. So I'm going to do totally new breakout groups. And here we go. See you back here in 2 minutes. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Let's debrief on that activity of the emotion check-in. My hope is that you actually had a partner. I have no way of knowing, or that you and your partner both participated. I have no way of knowing. If you had a partner and you both had a chance to do it, or one of you had a chance to do it, what was that like for you? How did it go? What happened?
So I can share, like, you tried your best to change the partners, but we ended up being the same group in a different room. But it was really fun, and I also in the process got to learn more about each other and get more closer, feeling
Cool.
more
All right.
safer to have communication. So that's where
All right.
I am.
Get to know more about each other, feel closer, a little bit safer together, more comfortable together. Did anybody have an experience like that or different from that? What was it like for you?
Yeah, I had a different group member, and Paddy was really great and welcoming, and it was a safe place. I felt safe to express how I felt.
Nice. All right. Yeah, and people usually describe it like this. Patty added on a welcome, and somebody adds in chat, I was able to let go of what I've been holding on to today. My partner was really enthusiastic. Welcome. Really powerful. So people usually report that it's like this. And Alexander, you got your hand up.
All right, thank you. I can't help but mentioning that in 2017, Michael Delamaza started a user group. It was one of the first online user groups way before COVID. And 2 years after, we finally met each other in person. It was online user group. We finally met each other in person during the global Scrum gathering, and we were hugging each other like brothers and sisters. We were sitting over beers and trying to understand why. What was the factor that put us all together? And one of the key factors of our camaraderie was that every time we started our meetings, and we are always at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday, we started with a deep check-in. The power of deep check-in is tremendous. Right. Thank you for sharing these words of wisdom.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. Yeah, I know Michael Delamaza really well. We're good friends. He moved back here to Boston. I was so happy that I have him back in my time zone again. And yeah, this is something that he is so skilled at, facilitating groups to share their emotions with each other, just following this recipe, the emotion check-in, straight out of the book. How do you feel? Pick a word, add on information, say I'm in, they say welcome. We instantly feel more deeply connected. We instantly feel like we're friends. I've had people report to me that we've been working together for 10 years or 15 years or whatever. And we've never felt this deeply connected. It's like we finally know each other. We've just been sitting near each other for 10 years, but now we know each other just by sharing how we're feeling right now. This is what people do on the above average teams, right? You can be on a normal team, a mediocre team, and not do this. This is kind of weird for people working in tech industry to share how we're feeling, or in lots of different industries. It's weird because the normal teams don't do it. The exceptional teams have a way to share how they're feeling with each other. And the research shows us, and the results show us, that on teams where people do this, those teams are better. They get better results. They're more creative. They're better. You could try this with your team. Alexander just described a way to do it. Whenever you have a meeting, it's the first thing you do in a meeting. There are a lot of teams that do this as part of their daily stand-up or their daily scrum. They have those sort of standard 3 questions. Oh, they have a 4th question. How do you feel? How are you feeling right now? And they share with each other every day how they're feeling, or anytime they feel like sharing how they're feeling. They have a way to do it, and it's not awkward. At least after you've done it a couple of times, it's not awkward anymore. And they connect with each other better, and they get their work done better. Here's another solo quiet thinking activity. I want blank. What's the most important thing in the world to you right now? Fill in the blank with any word or words that describe what is the most important thing for you, your biggest want, your need right now. I'm going to make believe you know what it was, and maybe you even wrote it down. That biggest, most important want, why don't you have it? What's blocking you? If you really answered that accurately, you should probably already have it or have all of it, but you don't. It's something you want. Why don't you have it? What's blocking you? What's in your way? Fill in the blank. You can maybe write it down on your own piece of paper. Fill in the blank with your answer. What's blocking you from that biggest, most important thing in the world? And I'd encourage you to repeat this activity later. I'm gonna move a little faster and really just introduce you to the activity right now. Now, that thing that's blocking you, whatever that is, let's do another iteration of I want blank. What do you want that if you had it, it would eliminate whatever's blocking you and get you what you want? Now, this one is multiple choice. If you had one of these characteristics, if you were super skilled in self-awareness or integrity or courage, passion, peace, presence, self-care, fun, wisdom, or health, if you had all of it that exists in the universe, if you were like a 9th degree black belt in one of these skills, which one would eliminate everything that's blocking you and get you everything you want? Oh, there's a star next to self-awareness. That's the default answer. If you're not sure what you want, you might want self-awareness, and it's a really good answer. You get to define what these words mean for you. Everybody has a slightly different definition of these words. And try to imagine a way to practice it every day as well. Right? You won't just say, I want courage, and you get it like that. It doesn't work like that. You have to practice it. And it might change over time too. For a while, mine was, I want courage. And my way to practice it was, turns out I'm kind of shy. So my way to practice courage was to try to meet somebody new every day and learn their name. This was pre-COVID. So it'd be like wait in line to buy a cup of coffee, and there's somebody standing next to me in line to buy a cup of coffee. I would say hello and strike up a conversation. So weird for me just to be friendly and say hello to people I don't know. I'm a New Englander after all. We don't do that. But it was also really because I was afraid. I'm shy. I was afraid of meeting new people. So I would strike up a conversation and I would go home and write it down in my notebook. Today I met blank and put the person's name there. Nothing creepy about it. It was just evidence for myself that I'd been practicing it. I've been sort of building a new habit and logging it, giving myself evidence that I'd been practicing this new habit. Overcoming my fear, building more courage. Think of a way for you to practice every day this future super skill that will give you everything you want, eliminate everything that's in your way, and get you everything you want. Which word did you pick? Oh, and we're going to call that your personal alignment. This is another one of those protocols. Turns out that on the above average teams, the high performing teams, people know what they want. People know what drives them and motivates them. And they even share it with each other, and they help each other to get everything they want together. Those are the best of the best teams. We get everything we want together. Which one was it for you? And as you think about this, think about what the word means to you. What does wisdom mean for you? What does peace mean for you, or fun mean for you? And what would you do every day to get more of that in your life? More self-care, more presence. And if we were doing this as a real team, a group of 2 or more people aligned with shared goals, we'd share this with each other and align ourselves around our mutual goals. So it looks like we want a little bit of everything in this group. All right. Now we've got a group of, if we were doing this together as a team, we would have a group of people who have high self-awareness. We know who we are, we know what we want, we know how we're feeling. The 4th building block is about connection. We've got protocols to connect with each other better. It turns out the self-awareness protocols are also connection protocols. You noticed when you were checking in, the emotion check-in, you're connecting with the other person. When you're asking for help, you're connecting with somebody else who's helping you. We share our personal alignments with each other, and we ask each other about it. We connect deeply by asking big open questions. That's what Investigate is about. It's about being curious and trying to understand more about what's going on within us and around us. An intention check is another kind of positive bias. It's that when something goes wrong, when we don't understand somebody's behavior, we assume that they had positive intent and we ask them about it versus accusing them of something wrong or blaming them for something. We ask them about it. On teams where people do this, they get better results together. Now, all of this together, if we do all of these activities together, if we build these up as habits amongst ourselves as a team, I think what Alexander shared with us is an example of this. We start to experience something together, this subjective word that we don't hear a lot in most of the places where I've worked. This is really what it means to be on a high-performing team. The sensation of being on a high-performing team is explained by this word. If you watch a high-performing team, if you've been on a high-performing team, one of the best teams, the people on the team care about each other a lot. It would look like love to an outside observer. It would feel like love to somebody within the team. The kind of love where we really care about each other. Not romantic love, but the love where we really care about each other, where we feel like brothers or sisters, like Alexander said. Thanks so much for sharing that story. If love is an uncomfortable word for you, maybe friendship, right? This is what I mean. It's really intense, deep friendship. On the best of the best teams, people care about each other. People are friends, at least while they're together. They would do anything for each other to accomplish that shared goal together. All of these activities, when I do them with teams and more, this is a quick intro to a lot of these activities, how to introduce these protocols to a team. This is a repeatable recipe for getting that best team of your life, again, on purpose. Start with positive bias. If you think about your best relationships that you've ever had, and that's what a team is, it's a relationship amongst a group of people. We start with positive bias. We want to do something good together. We want to reach our goals together, whatever they happen to be. We don't get together to hurt each other on the best relationships of our lives. And we have freedom. We get to decide who to be in relation with. We get to decide what we're doing together. We get to decide whether to be in relation with those other people or not. We check in. We share how we're feeling with each other in the best relationships of our lives. And the people in the group share how they're feeling with us. And we listen and we hear it. We don't criticize anybody for feeling any particular way. We just hear them and support them. And personal alignment. It's about knowing what's really important to you, knowing what you want, knowing what your goals are, knowing your next step toward what you want for yourself and for each other. In the best relationships of our lives, that's what we do. We tell each other about what's important to us. We share with each other what's important to us. And Investigate is about asking more and connecting more and connecting deeper and deeper as fast as we can, as deeply as we can. This is what we do in the best relationships of our lives. And again, a team is just a special kind of relationship. This is a reproducible recipe for getting to that state of friendship or state of love or state of best team of our lives, again, on purpose. sometimes my wife is from California, so I can get away with this. This idea of love or friendship. This is kind of woo-woo. This is something you wouldn't necessarily hear in a New York City finance company. So for people who don't really, or organizations where we don't really talk about love or friendship at work, we could do this as a script, right? Just execute the script. It's like code you can run in your brains or within the group, and we'll get this again. It's reproducible. In this context, we're talking about work teams, so we'll add on productivity. We've got ways to make great decisions together that we act on and get them done. We've got ways to resolve conflict. We've got this way called perfection game to give and receive feedback. And I encourage you to check these out. Check out all the details. We've got error handling. The research supports all these things. The practice supports all of these ideas. When something goes wrong, when we have team agreements and we don't do what we said, we make commitments to each other and we let each other down, we have a way to talk about it. That's what protocol check is in core protocols language. It doesn't matter what you call it or exactly how you do it, as long as you have a way to do it. And if you don't know how to do it yet, if you don't have an agreement for doing it, then check out the core protocols way of doing it. We'll give you a recipe for being able to do it together with your team. So that's the end of this quick intro to the core protocols, these building blocks for high-performing teams. From this quick intro, what's your key takeaway? What's the most important thing you heard, most interesting thing you learned? What was it for you?
The coolest thing for me was in that thinking through best teams and realizing 5 teams, maybe each in a different decade, but 5 great teams I've been on, and feeling the warmth of all 5 of them.
Wow, that's cool. That word, and feeling the warmth, yeah. So we've got a lot of friendship is congruent with high performance. Yeah, friendship or love. Core protocols are a way to raise team emotional intelligence.
Something else.
Sorry, Tina, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're trying to talk to us. I'm going to mute you. Okay, so a couple of key takeaways there. Here's another look at key takeaways. Whoops. Where are we? Sometimes things go haywire. Don't worry, we'll get back to normal. So another look at those key takeaways. We saw this chart before. If you want a high performance team, you want psych safety. Team EI is sort of a superset, a broader idea around psych safety. Core protocols are a way to get all of this. The science and research just says if you measure this, you get that, you get a high performing team. And we need a way to do it. So core protocols are a way to do it, and a reproducible way to do it. How to do this with your teams? Well, here are some ideas for how to do this with your teams. I mean, you could take some of the activities we just did and do them with your teams. We heard about just doing the emotion check-in when you start a meeting. You can do that. You could check out these books. You could visit my website. You can ask me for help anytime. All this stuff is documented for free at thecoreprotocols.org, so you can check it out there. We've got more events coming up. We do a monthly Agile dojo. Alexander, you mentioned Michael de la Masa, and I founded this thing called the Agile dojo many, many years ago. I've been continuing it in online space for the last few years. We do it on the first Thursday of every month. Guess what? Tomorrow is the first Thursday of the month. So we're doing an Agile dojo tomorrow night. We practice skills. It's a safe place to practice skills to help us have teams that are more agile. So you're welcome to join us there. We do a weekly office hour every Wednesday. The next Wednesday is March 9th, so join us there. I'm doing a whole class on this, a full day class spread across 2 days, a 2 half-days class. It's on April 21 and 22. If you want to do this for yourself, you just want to learn more of these skills and take them to your team. Or if you want to do this with your team, sign up for the class or book a private class for your team. What else? Oh, so we got this whole program of classes that we run. Ron talked about various things I do, the teaming things, the business things, the technical things. Sometimes I call it full stack agility. Kind of like everything that it takes to have a great team building awesome products that people love. And the thing about Agile is we love feedback. So I'm hoping you'll share some feedback with me. This is actually one of the activities. We're gonna look at a version of Perfection Game. So I've got a couple of questions for you. This experience that we had tonight, would you give it a score from 1 to 10, where 10 would be it was amazingly awesome? Tell me what you liked about it. That's the second question. And tell me what else it would take to be a perfect 10 if you gave me a lower number. This is a great way to give and receive feedback. And I love feedback. It helps me make things better. On high-performing teams, we give each other feedback and we make things better. So I'll pause and let you do that. That should stay there. If you're in progress on it, I'm pretty sure it will stay there. I'll let you do it. That's it for tonight's session. A quick intro to core protocols, psych safety, team emotional intelligence, solid practices for helping you get there. You got my contact info here again. And you're welcome to get in touch with me anytime. I want to share one more thing. I've been advising, getting involved with a new startup, and I want to share what they're doing. Here's another way to get in touch with me anytime. It's called 5me, and if you want access to me anytime, you can ask me a question anytime. I will get back to you almost immediately, unless I'm asleep. Here's a way to do it. So I'll just leave that up there for a bit. That's it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Ron and Jay, thanks for inviting me. I'll hand it back over to you.
Well, thanks a million, Ron.
My pleasure.
Jay, you flipped yourself back off again.
Hey, Richard, I did have a question. I posted in the chat, by the way.
Yeah. So in chat, you said, what do you do when one person is narcissistic and this person is part of senior management in the team? How do we use these protocols effectively? By the way, great content, really enjoyed it. It's such a good question, and I've experienced this too. What do you do when there's a narcissist? You just don't feel safe when there's a narcissist. You can't feel safe when there's a narcissist. It's like almost their job to make sure that they're taking advantage of you and using you as a tool. I'm not sure what you do when there's a narcissist. You have to be really careful. These are tools that help us, we've heard, be more vulnerable. You'll have a stronger team if you're more vulnerable with each other. It's related to feeling safer together. But there has to be this shell of safety around us for this to work. I've had people do this to me. Use one of these protocols as a weapon, like tell me that I should be more open and investigate them, or tell me that I should be sharing how I'm feeling, or command me to do something. It's coercion, and that's different from freedom. That's a recipe for an average or worse team. I don't know what you do with these narcissists. Fortunately, they're rare. They're a small percentage of the population. How do you insulate your team from a narcissist? That's a great question.
I think one of the things a lot of really cool teams I've worked with before in organizations, when we had bad people, whatever their behavior is. One of the hard decisions we had to make was get rid of them.
Yeah.
We tried so much to change them, and after a while, you know, they're like a cancer on the team and the organization. They just don't fit for whatever reason. So a lot of times we just have to make a decision to get rid of them.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Jay. And there's this saying, I learned it from somebody else in our community. Maybe you've heard this too. You can change your team, or you can change your team. Right? You can change your team, or you can change your team. You can change the people on your team, or you can change the team that you're part of. We all have freedom.
And if you're working for that narcissist, you may have to change your team.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So is there any more questions or comments?
Oh yeah, let me just let me do one real quick one on
Sure.
that narcissist thing. If you think the person is a narcissist, it might be that the person is just behaving that way, and their fear is what's driving it. And so some fashion of making them feel safe can be a way out of their narcissism.
Yeah.
If in fact it's not really, I mean, not, that's assuming that they're not a deep narcissist, that they're just behaving like one.
Yeah. And so sometimes I answer a question like this one, or when there's this kind of conflict between team members, by suggesting a step could be to do an emotion check-in and share how you're feeling about what's happening. Another step could be to intention check or investigate. Hey, I notice you doing this. This is intention check. Hey, I notice you're doing this. What's your intention when this happens? Investigate. Just try to learn more about what's happening. Try to connect more and see if that helps. So thanks for that idea, Danny.
You know, thanks, Richard. I'd like to underscore the movement, and Richard is a key part of it, and there's others out there, about this whole notion that we're human beings, and we have to, you know, share our emotions. We have to be vulnerable. We have to be open. You know, for years, so I'm pretty old. For years in the corporate world, we didn't really want to do that. And managers and people that work in companies, you know, they wanted to keep their personal life and their professional life separate. They didn't want to share themselves fully at work. And there was a lot of different point of view of things. But now with the Agile transformation and all the research that you talked about, Richard, we're finding out, hey, it's a good thing to be human at work. and you probably should do more of that. But sometimes, you know, we have bad days. And sometimes, you know, we're going to behave inappropriately, and that's okay. We're human, right? But I think, you know, that's not. So I don't know. Northern California, Ron knows this. I don't know if you know this, but in work agreements, a lot of teams there, one of the first things they say there is no assholes on the team, right? And the team constantly checks others and the behaviors. It's a constant checks and balances, right? And like you said before, you know, they become close acquaintances and friends, and the love and all that fosters and so forth. So I think this is very important as we go through these agile transformations and making these changes in a company. It's more than just doing Scrum, and it's more than just doing Kanban. It's more than just doing TD, right? It's this stuff, and I hate the word. These are the soft skills. No, dude, these are hard skills to master. Okay, so I really like this, Richard, and this movement. I think it's very important.
Cool, and I'm sort of giggling as I said. It's not just do psych safety. It's not just do Team EI. It's not just no assholes. It's how do we do that, right? How do we do no assholes? And a lot of this is how we do that. We connect with each other, we share with each other, we're more open, we're positive.
Cool. All right, well, thank you, Richard, for your valuable time and great information. Like, Richard's very open person, just contact him and and he'll learn up and help you and help your team and organization. So again, thank you very much for being here. I will put the Zoom recording out there, and then I'll notify everybody through Meetup when it's out there. We got a little YouTube space, Richard.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Well, for joining